Today, we're going to talk about the immune system. And it's such a hot topic right now, certainly with COVID and everybody wondering how they can stay healthier. I think for a while last year, everybody was super on board with, I'm going to try and eat healthy and we're going to learn how to can green beans while we're home. And maybe we're going to grow our own food next year. And so there was a big push towards self care last year when we were all kind of stuck at home. What I have found is now that things are getting back into the groove, everything is picking up, including the pace of our lives. And maybe those eating habits of trying to eat a little healthier or getting some self care in are falling by the wayside. Stress is elevated, just a lot of things. Unfortunately, that plays a triple whammy on our immune system. So, hopefully, we'll cover some things today that give you a few pointers, what you can do to keep your body nice and strong and healthy. We have some just general recommendations. And then we also have some tips on if you want to more aggressively boost your immune system. So, we'll cover all of that today. So, again, today we're talking all about the immune system. In a time when we are all just really, really busy, it's really who has time to be sick. Not only is it who has time to be sick, but it can be a dangerous time to get sick. So we want to make sure that everybody is on the right track and everybody is moving in the right direction to keep your body as strong as possible. So why are we talking about this? Well, you have to think about your immune system like this really, really strong army. You have all these soldiers inside of you and they're always on a mission. And what is that mission? It's actually to protect you from enemies, both foreign, like viruses and bacteria, and also domestic. And these would be diseases like cancer or abnormal cells that need to be stopped when they're replicating. The problem is when you're immune compromised or when your immune system is just not working the way it should, everything is low. So that defense system is low. And then you don't have this ability to fight off infections and diseases like you normally would. So, depending on why your immune system is compromised, it can be a temporary state or a permanent state. So, we're talking more about the temporary states right now. And then in people who do have more of immune suppression from either medication or chronic disease, we're going to talk about how we can boost those up. The biggest takeaway today, you are the biggest controller of your body's ability to fight disease. And that can be really liberating because so many times we're told, well, we'll just have to wait and see what happens and then we'll treat it. Not so with your immune system. You are in control of how this is going to respond and you can catch things before it gets big. So these small habits can have significant effects on your health, just like we've talked about in many other areas. So, what is this immune system? You have thousands and thousands and thousands of cells in your body, and they form this big team, right? So, this team fights off anything that shouldn't be there. And that's really the simplest way to put it. Includes everything from when you get a splinter in your finger or you get an infection and you have a bacteria or a virus. Now, there's two phases of how this happens. So the first one, get a little technical here, is called innate immune cells. This is when something invades your system and it triggers your body to get it out immediately. The second part of the response is when the cleanup crew comes in and cleans up whatever is left behind. So it's like the debris and the inflammation and all those cytokines and all those chemicals we talked about before that can actually do a lot of damage in the wake of things. So the first one is recognizing there's a problem in fighting it. And the second one is cleaning up the mess. That second one is called an adaptive response. So that's what we get like after you've had an infection or after you've had some sort of exposure to something. This response is amazing. So it's your body's way of really recording and remembering those different exposures so it can be more efficient at making antibodies against it and fighting it the next time. So the reason we have so many issues with the coronavirus is it's called a novel coronavirus. Basically, nobody's immune system has seen it before. And that's kind of what's stirring up so much trouble in so many people's system from an inflammation standpoint. So let's go back and talk about the first line of defense because this is really crucial. This is where we can make a big impact. First line of defense, it's the first step to preventing these from even getting into your system. So you've got your army ready. We want to keep the foreign attackers out. Your skin is the biggest barrier. Everything we learn in kindergarten, right? Wash your hands for at least 30 seconds. It's going to be the best thing that you can do. It's like, think of your skin like this huge stone wall and it's like protecting your castle, right? The skin actually shields all of your delicate organs and tissues from being attacked. The nasal passages, they have these little hair-like structures called cilia. And every time you breathe in and breathe out, it actually captures those foreign particles, everything from bacteria and pollen, even to dust. And so that's why we sneeze. It's like it triggers those and we sneeze to get them out. Saliva is another line of defense. It's enzymes that are found in your mucous membranes. It's enzymes found in your tear, enzymes in the lining and the mucus of your lungs and intestines. All of those different mucosal surfaces help destroy pathogens and keep them from entering your body. So imagine like those little hairs and enzymes, those are like more soldiers protecting the gates around the castle. Now let's talk a little bit about autoimmune disease. You might have heard this term before. Well, this is your first line of defense, just in case you guys wanted to know what it really looks like. This is what's really on your scan, right? Okay, maybe not, but that was a cute picture. All right, so on to autoimmune disease. So you guys might have heard somebody talk about autoimmune disease. What is autoimmune disease? Autoimmune disease is when your system gets too revved up and basically it can't tell what is self anymore and starts attacking itself. You can have inflammatory responses that are normal, but in somebody who has an autoimmune disease, when they have an inflammatory process kick up, it can actually trigger it to attack its own self. So this is where we get a lot of really big problems. This can happen anywhere in the body. Autoimmune diseases are actually more common in women than they are in men. And we think that's because both some genetic and environmental factors. Here's what you need to know. There are more than 80 different types of autoimmune diseases. It affects more than 24 million people. Things that we commonly see would be autoimmune thyroid problems like Graves' disease or Hashimoto's, inflammatory bowel disease. You might know somebody with celiac or Crohn's, lupus, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, type 1 diabetes. All of those things are autoimmune diseases. So when you think about a system that might be immune suppressed, meaning the immune system is not working the way it should, you have to think of all of these people who have an autoimmune issue in the background. So think about that on a global scale. 24 million people in the US with autoimmune issues alone means their immune system is not fighting things like it should. It can be a big problem. Now, the other thing we really worry about in these scenarios is there's a significant increased risk of cancer in people whose immune system is not doing what it's supposed to as well. For example, 40% increased risk of cancer, especially lung cancer, in people with rheumatoid arthritis. And we can also see up to a 19% fold increase in lymphoma in patients who have another one called Sjogren's. So the immune system is very important. When the immune system turns on itself or is not as effective, we run into big problems. So what can we do about it? Some of these look very familiar, I hope. Food, stress reduction, sleep, exercise, hydration, fasting, and supplements. So we're just going to run through these pretty quickly because I think you're going to resonate with the information that's there anyway. So 70% of your immune system is in your gut. We talk about gut health. Gut health is so important. Why is it? Again, we're back there again. 70% of your immune system comes from your gut. You have trillions of microorganisms. There's over 1,000 different types of gut bacteria. The bacteria in your gut actually can weigh over 4 pounds. So it's a really, really important part of us to have these good bacteria making these byproducts that nourish the gut lining. The stronger your gut lining is, the you have a better defense against all these intruders that can come in. Part of your gut lining that gets nourished, they're called these Peyer's patches. And that's just something when you're reading about the immune system, you might hear about collections. They're like centralized locations of where your army hangs out. For a food component, we need to nourish these good bacteria. High fiber diets do that. A diversity of different foods do that. Sugar does not do that. You need to be fully aware that sugar is not your friend and it literally puts your immune system on hold for hours. When people talk about a sugar coma, I think about your immune system. So, for instance, when you have something sugary, like a sugary drink, for up to 4 hours afterwards, it literally sort of paralyzes your immune system. So, keep that in mind. We need to make sure you're drinking plenty of fluids because your immune system is completely dependent on your bloodstream, cycling it through your system. And our bloodstream is mostly made of water. So if you don't have enough water, you can't transport these nutrients around and you can't transport these little cells that have communication networks inside. So staying hydrated is very, very important. Vegetables are the foundation of this nourishing diet, and it's because of the color diversity and something in them called flavonoids and carotenoids. So they're very high in vitamin C, they're high in antioxidants. We think about things like red bell peppers and broccoli and spinach. For carotenoids, we think of carrots and sweet potatoes and kale. Basically, when someone tells you to eat a rainbow, It all goes back to nourishing the good bacteria in your gut, adding in those key nutrients that helps you fight infection and giving you what you need to have normal cell function. For foods, we would aim for 2 servings of fruit a day and 8 or more servings of vegetable a day. Think of a serving as like half a cup. So that 2 servings of fruit, 8 servings of vegetables. That's usually quite a lot more than most people are used to, but that's what it takes to keep that diversity in your system. For key foods, berries and pasture raised meats, nuts and seeds, those are all some nutritional powerhouses. It's also great because you can keep a lot of those in your freezer so you can stay stocked up. Stress has a very direct effect on your immune system. The data is clear. Increased stress level definitely cause an increased susceptibility to viruses. In one study, they had cold viruses injected into their nose. Only the people who scored high on the stress questionnaire developed active infection. So now is the time to really double down on your self care. So take that walk in nature, do those deep breathing exercises, get massage, do your yoga, whatever it is that you do to settle your system down. Everybody has stress, so it's a part of life. But if it drags on too long, it can really lead to problems. And certainly, immune suppression is not the direction we want to go. There's some kind of cool things about emotions that tie into your immune system. Interestingly, crying actually has a very positive effect on the immune system. People who tend to not let out their frustrations or their sadness and they hold it in, very negative. So crying actually will boost the immune system. Things like high levels of fear and doubt and anxiety, very negative effect the immune system. We can actually measure it in our markers that we test for. Laughing, of course, it boosts your good hormones. Those good feel good hormones actually increase some of our immune system responses. So laughing is very good. Connections with others are really good. Things you can do in addition to these is avoid immersing yourself in negative media. And it seems like most media right now is pretty negative. So we try to avoid that as much as we can. You may not be able to get rid of your stress, but you can learn how to manage it better, learn to meditate, slow down, connect with other people, and working out to blow off some extra steam. Sleep is one of the most important things you can do for your immune system. Everything that we talk about with heal and repair happens at nighttime. Melatonin, which is your sleep hormone that rises at nighttime, it actually boosts your natural killer T cells. And we know that 7 to 9 hours nightly is kind of that key sleep time. Fasting. What do we know about fasting? We're going to get into more about this in the next month or two. But we know that fasting actually decreases inflammatory markers, so you heal faster. Fasting also recycles old cells. Here's the key about fasting. Fasting can completely 100% reset your entire immune system. That's amazing. Like, we don't have medications that do that. We don't have anything that can reboot your immune system like fasting can. So that'll be a really fun one to get to. Exercise. Normally, what happens in our immune system is over time, our cells die. Our ability to create these fighting cells drops. Our ability to make antibodies drops. And it's like a bunch of our soldiers retire. Exercise can completely reverse that deterioration process. The other thing, of course, is it increases your feel good hormones, and feel good hormones trigger a positive response to your immune system. There's a massive surge of antioxidants that are released after you exercise. So, again, that's incredibly powerful. And we know that it takes just 20 to 30 minutes. If we do it out in nature, we add added benefits. So get that movement in every day. It does the body good, it does stress good, and of course, it does your immune system good. Supplements. So supplements, ideally, we get all of our nutrients from food. The problem is a lot of our foods are not as nutrient dense as they used to be. And most people are probably not getting 8 to 10 servings a day of what they need. So a lot of times these supplements will come into play. Just so you know some specifics on a few. Vitamin C boosts those natural killer cells. I think that's the coolest name for a cell. I love whoever came up with that name. So vitamin C, awesome. Flavonoids are antioxidants. So they're like those freeze ray guys, kind of like glutathione. Glutathione is the best freeze ray for really neutralizing those inflammatory molecules that float around. So flavonoids are actually pigmented molecules. So it's what makes your vegetables and your fruits the different colors. The different colors are antioxidant. They neutralize the bad guys. So keep that in mind. Eating the rainbow Lots of antioxidants, neutralizing the bad guys, boost your system. Vitamins A, C, and D, those are pretty much across the board super nutrients to be getting in. You don't want to overdo it. Ideally, you would test for it first, but know those are good ones to have in your system along with C on a regular basis. Now, a supplement that's been talked about a lot lately is called quercetin. It's been used in a lot of allergy medications, and it's also a flavonoid. So it's one of those plant pigments. Quercetin has some cool effects to it. It stops histamine from being released, and that's why we've seen it in allergy medicines. But it's also able to take zinc, which is this really nice immune nutrient, and carry it into the cell. So if you've heard of quercetin, that's where it comes from. Also really great to have in people who are immune suppressed. It's not always the greatest thing to be on. So the basics make all the difference, right? In fighting germs and viruses and bacteria and mold and everything else we get exposed to. It's the basics. It's good food, reducing stress, good and restful sleep and getting enough of it, regular exercise, and then supplements when you need a boost. I know that's a lot to take in right now, but it's imperative that you use this time to really take care of yourself, take care of people around you, take care of your health, and encourage others to do the same. Because with these tips that you receive, you can make sure that your immune system is ready to go and it's able to go when it's needed.